Okay, hi, everybody. This is the meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee, Thursday, October 17th, 2024. Hi, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good to see everybody. It's a pretty light agenda tonight, usual topics. First, just want to see how everybody's doing post town meeting.
We should do a roll call, Debbie.
Roll call. Yep. Demiria here.
Stivers here.
Will Warren here.
Watson here.
Okay, starting the meeting, it was 5:33. Thank you, Judith. Okay, so just to start the agenda, it's pretty light agenda, but it's become our kind of standard agenda, so we can have our discussions within the topics. So first item of the agenda is I just wanted to give a short update on the planning board feedback that occurred on August 19th, actually, and that was on our revised charge. Minor edits, of course, and the proposals for the changes in responsibility. And so the planning board voted no problems on the change in the charge. That was to fully accept that we're meeting reporting twice annually, twice a year, I believe, and some other small minor edits that we made. And I did get some feedback on our proposed change in responsibilities that I want to share with you. Yeah,
sorry, Debbie, just on that charge, has that been updated on the website?
You know, I was gonna meet with Colleen. I think it has, but I'll double check and I'll make sure it is with Colleen. I have some other things that I would like to do with her, so I'll make sure that gets done.
Great, thank you.
Change on the website. Okay. So we provided, I think it was some changes in responsibility. I think it was version 3 that Judith had forwarded to us before the planning board meeting in August. Planning board has a couple of comments, and then now that we're after town meeting, there may be more, but I want to just share these comments with you. So there was a comment for consideration on pedestrian and the bicycle committee. So first of all, I made my best pitch that we're just really trying to move the ball forward and, you know, have people assigned that could potentially do the work. I think that the planning board did understand that. Obviously, we don't have a pedestrian bicycle committee. I had a comment on specifically, I think it's R 3.2. And that was the one to strive for multi-use trails. I think it was bicycles and pedestrian. And the comment that came from planning board was whether we can consider, instead of select board for that one, excuse me, is that consider trails committee as the responsible for that. Judith, would you be able to put up, do you have that document, Andy?
I'm just calling it up now. Can you, I need to have access to.
Yes, you do. I can't remember what I do here. Do I share? Okay. Thank you. Whatever you did, it allowed me to.
So I think Debbie, you have to promote Judith to co-host. I think there you go. Okay. Now it's working.
Okay.
On that particular point, actually, that has been discussed. And as I recall, Trails actually is not interested in that because they don't want shared use on the trails. They don't want bicycles or whatever.
It was very specific to 3.2. This one came in, I actually thought we were talking about ED 1.9. So I wanted to look at that one as well. Judith, I'm not seeing you share. It looks like it's coming up though. Are you seeing it or?
It says it started screen sharing, but no graphic is on the page yet.
Okay. It says that from my end, it says it's sharing. So
it says Judith Watson has started screen sharing, but the screen is black. So there's no, I don't see any. document.
All right, let me try again. Hang on. That better?
Same thing. Oh, there we go. Just came up. So good.
There it is. Okay, so I believe the comment was made on ED 1.9. But as it was being read, it looked like R 3.2. So can we take a look at ED 1.9, a study and improve connectivity to downtown? Yeah, so it's sort of shared, right? It doesn't mean sharing the trails, but it's
I think
overseeing
the one you're talking about though is R 3.2, which was
drive.
a recommendation from the Recreation Commission in the original report.
Okay. I went back and listened to the meeting today, and the text was, I thought we were talking about 1.9, but the text was the strive for multi-use trail and sidewalk systems.
Yeah.
So what does everybody think? That was just a suggestion. Obviously, recreation doesn't have the complete. Is recreation even responsible for doing anything with sidewalks or trails?
Nope.
No.
So Debbie, the proposal
No, they had actually asked that recommendation be one of the ones that goes to the planning, to the select board, I think. Just let me double check, because they say they just don't have, it's not part of their remit. Hang on a sec. 3 points.
Debbie, planning to give that to the Trails Committee?
Planning board wanted to give it to the Trails Committee.
I think the first choice is you ask the Trails Committee if they want it.
I would have one question on that, which is that one area for connectivity with the main part of town from the south would be maybe to have a floating boardwalk or whatever next to 85, next to the causeway there.
Not going to work, Will.
Why not?
That's an MWRA reservoir, backup reservoir. And Marlborough was able to do it because that's their lake, basically. So that's not part of the water system. So
that's a nice
MWRA
one.
is not going to let people do that on their.
Yeah, I can understand that, but I mean, when you look at how close Route 9 comes to that backup reservoir,
Yep.
that kind of makes me skeptical about how much of a reservoir that really is. Right.
Well, it is a backup reservoir. It's been used once in the last several years, but it's not frequently used. But I mean, one can always ask, but I will predict with about 99% certainty that the answer is going to be no way.
Okay.
So just to come back to 3.2, this was one where the Recreation Commission had actually asked that it gets reassigned to the select board, because they don't have responsibility for sidewalks.
Yeah, that makes sense. Judith, can we look at 1.9? Because as the comment was being made, I thought we were talking about
ED 1.9 is just above 3.2 on the document that I'm sharing. Can you see it? ED?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. As the comment was being made, I thought it was on ED 1.9, but I went back and listened to the recording today, and I think Lisa mentioned she was bringing up 3.2, but did we talk about 1.9 at all? Whether or not that would be appropriate for trails, or is it same sort of a thing that select board has sort of the bigger picture on sidewalks and trails?
Yeah, I mean, again, Trails Committee has nothing to do with sidewalks, basically.
Yeah.
At least that's the way they work. They're working on trails, X sidewalks, and again, they've had not much interest in mixed use there in terms of cyclists.
Okay.
On the trails. So, I mean, again, I actually really don't care as long as somebody's got responsibility for it. It seems to me
one way to resolve this, and this is something that I'm starting to look at across the master plan, is there are definitely duplicates. Well, not duplicates. There are definitely topics that are in multiple chapters because multiple groups wanted to make sure they were in the master plan. But I mean, the obvious one is land use and zoning, which land use and zoning has no unique recommendations. They're all recommendations from other chapters that have been reframed under a land use and zoning heading. And that's how Mimi wanted it to be, because one of the big challenges in the 2008 plan was that we had all of these zoning recommendations that couldn't go anywhere because they weren't being sponsored with a specific kind of outcome in mind. But there are other, the community center opportunity is in 3 or 4 chapters. Sidewalks is definitely in probably 4 or 5 different. One of the options here might be to say, let's just make sure that if recreation came up with 3.2, let's make sure that they would be happy if it was incorporated into ED 1.9.
I see.
3.2 is not, there's no specific deliverable. We tried very hard when we did the master plan to make the wording around these recommendations actionable. But at some point we just had to say, okay, this is what the Recreation Commission wants. Let's leave it like that. But the word, strive for multi-use trail and sidewalk systems. How do you even measure that? What's the deliverable? What's the outcome? Well, the outcome is someone's going to have to study and improve the connectivity and access to the downtown. So my suggestion would be we look at, can we rationalize that and say, well, it's part of 1.9, or it's part of, there's another one here, isn't it? The spine structure. And I'm happy to go back to the Recreation Commission and say, hey, you don't want it, even though it was in your chapter. Do you mind if we try and reframe some of these other recommendations to incorporate that desire?
Yeah. Again, I would certainly ask Recreation, but it sure seems to me that the select board has a higher level view of this issue, and also has more ability to direct resources toward this than either Trails or Recreation or the Planning Board, actually. So that, to me, drives it toward the select board. But again, I don't actually really care as long as it's on the list here and we can follow up on it.
Maybe as we think about going into, sort of giving our report at the end of the year or something, and thinking about the goals that are, I don't want to say stalled. There's some work obviously being done by the select board on these. But the ones that have multiple, like you just mentioned, Judith, you've got the R 3.2 and the ED 1.9. They're very similar. For when you look at them, it looks like you've got 2 goals that aren't being met, or 2 recommendations that aren't, that could use a little bit of lift, when they're really kind of one and the same. So maybe we could take a look at that sort of from a different view. I'd be interested to see kind of what the stuff that you're thinking about doing. But on this topic, though, I agree. I think that the select board has the bigger view on this, and it probably belongs where it is.
So what else does the planning board have to say?
So no issues with the recycling committee goals and recommendations that moved over to DPW. No, they're happy for that. So the other one was the sustainability committee. So this was NR 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4. And again, this was also just a recommendation that because we don't have a sustainability committee and conservation commission had spearheaded the MVP, the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness. They thought that one of the suggestions was that any of those 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4 may be something that maybe Conservation Commission may want. It's kind of a lot of work. I brought up the idea that, you know, Sam, I think you came up with initially to say there might be someone who wants to get involved. I even said, I might be one of those people that might be able to do something there. But the planning board said, well, you know, it seems like it may fit with Conservation Commission because of the, you know, the work that they've done on the MVP and the other documents that they produce.
Yeah,
I think
guess
that's mainly
I-
Melissa.
I
Yeah.
don't
So
see that, I guess.
Maybe just out of interest, why didn't they think it was a DPW responsibility?
Can you, let's see, can you bring up 2.0? If you can just go up a little bit. So this is the climate action plan, and I can't see what 2.2 is on the screen, but
Oh, 2 point, who's that?
we're in NR 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4.
Okay, hang on a minute. I'm looking at 3.3.
So yeah, I
Okay,
mean, you
sorry.
know, 2.4 maybe
I'm
because
sorry, I thought that was, I thought we were talking about 3.3 to.
oh, sorry.
6.
We were, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. This is the Sustainability Committee recommendations that, so they'll develop a 5-year climate action plan. I mean, you know, I suppose we could ask, right? But I think Conservation Commission has a lot of work, and so does the agent. So I'm not sure that's a big job. Strengthen and expand partnerships within the town and state to develop climate change solutions, and recommend, develop, and monitor programs designed to enhance long-term sustainability and resiliency in environmental resources and energy challenges. I could see where that one's maybe a partnership also with the DPW. So what do you guys think?
Debbie, I'm still confused then. So basically your original point was related to 2.2, 3, and 4, and not 3.2, 3, and 4.
Right, it's this one here for sustainability. It's 2.2, 2.3, and
Okay.
2.4.
Okay. Yeah, all right, because again, I don't see any role for a Concom in 3.2, 3, and 4. And I guess I'm also this is not something that Concom has been doing particularly. I mean, their focus is on permitting and property management kind of stuff. So, you know, again, I don't mind asking them, do they want to take it on? No problem at all with that if they want to take it on. But again, it seems to me that the select board has a higher level of either authority and resources to do something about that. But again, I'm totally indifferent about that one in the sense that whoever wants it's well.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding, and I mean, I'm happy to talk to Melissa about it. So 2 things. One is the Concom's established under the Mass state law, specifically around stormwater management and wetland protection. So I don't know if how that would kind of be impacted, but also, I mean, the whole hazard mitigation plan, that whole, what else did we call it? What was it?
Vulnerability preparedness, municipal.
Yeah, I mean, Melissa stepped in to do that because there wasn't anybody else who was going to do it. So I'm not necessarily, knowing what they're doing right now, I'm kind of somewhat doubtful that she'll want to take it on. But I mean, I can ask her to kind of formally take it back to the Conservation Commission if we want to.
Yeah, I don't resist asking, but I'd be very surprised if they volunteer to take it on, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I don't mind. I mean, when you do work, you get rewarded with more, right? So I think that probably people are associating that, you know, Melissa did a big job putting that vulnerability plan together and said, well, maybe she'd want to do this, but I don't disagree. The Conservation Commission is very busy, and it does seem to fall outside the area, I wouldn't, if she says no, I wouldn't ask that it go to the commission. I mean, I think she'll be good, let you know whether or not that's something that she may want to do
Okay.
or have an idea about or want to maybe participate in as, you know, but if you want to ask, I think that's
Yeah.
fine.
But I want to talk to her about some of the recommendations on the hazard mitigation and the vulnerability plan anyway, so I'll just kind of roll that into that conversation.
Okay,
And there may be work going on that's related to that.
yeah, good. That's all that planning board had.
Okay.
And so next on the agenda is, Judith, you asked me to put on analysis of recommendations. Were you referring to these or taking a look to see if there's anything else post town meeting?
No,
No.
this was, let me show you what I've been doing
Okay.
here. It was more in relation to, our overall recommendation work. So let me pick this one. This is very small, so everyone can make it bigger on their own screen as needed. So one of the things that I think we talked about at the last meeting was, I guess, two things. One was just trying to get around all of the different boards and commissions and get, is everyone seeing that?
No,
No.
we didn't know if you were sharing. No.
I know why it's not showing.
Now something's trying to share.
There it
There we
is.
go.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so there were a couple of things we talked about. One was just the challenge of getting round to all the different boards and commissions. And also the fact that there are things that are happening in the town that may not be in the master plan specifically as a recommendation, but it's still really important. And we can kind of, if we can find links to some of the recommendations, we can definitely demonstrate progress. So the work on the MBTA zoning, I think, is a really good example. There's one tiny little recommendation in the master plan, because when we did the master plan, that really was just a kind of a, well, it might be coming down the track, and then suddenly 2 years on, it's become this huge, you know, project and opportunity. So I have started and I took all of my boards and commissions and all of Kat's boards and commissions, and I have systematically gone through all of the meeting minutes for all of those boards and commissions and created updates for 2024 to either highlight progress against a specific recommendation or to add things in that I think are linked to it. And then what I've done is, oh, and actually Sam has also given me a document, which is a update of his document from Q4 2023, where he is adding updates for as many recommendations as he have the knowledge on. So same principle, he's just using his own personal knowledge. I'm going through minutes, and I intend to go through all the boards and commission minutes to be able to do that. What I then did is start saying, okay, we talked about it at the last meeting. We really want to try and come up with some sort of quantifiable status for the end of the year planning board report. Well, yes, there'll be some topics where we can definitely have some nice narrative, but we have to start to show some sort of quantifiable progress, because if we don't, people are just going to say, well, like, where is it? Okay. So what I've started to do for each of, these are all the objectives, for each of the objectives, is I've started to classify each recommendation based on what I understand the status to be from the updates that I've got. Okay. So I'm about halfway through it. So this, if everyone can see this,
Mhm.
this is a chart that basically shows the classifications that I've been using, or that I'm proposing that we use. This pink column here, can everyone see this? The
Yes.
pink column is all the changes of responsibility, because we have to add those into this working recommendation document to be able to then come up with a definitive, here's where we are at the end of the year. So if we've got recommendations for sustainability and it's not sustainability anymore, we have to be able to kind of reflect that. So this reflects all of the changes on that went to the planning board. And also, Sam, I noted on your document that the Shopsy is no more, correct?
Correct.
And it's now the Affordable Housing Trust.
Correct.
So they're now taking over all of Shopsy's recommendations, with the exception of one, which I think has gone to ZBA.
Okay.
So this pink column is really just a kind of an admin column. The column next to it in green is which recommendations are actually complete. And what I've noted underneath is complete when the plan was published. There were 5, 6, 8 recommendations that had already been done when we formally launched the plan, because we've been working on it for 3 years. So you can see from here, there's at this point, and the way to think about it is I've only really gone, let's see.
I wanted to take credit for those, Judith.
Yeah, this looks like your original dashboard, Sam.
It is.
that-
It's Sam. Oh,
Yes, very good.
absolutely. Sorry.
Uh,
Oh, well, I'm just the scribe here. This is Sam's
No,
concept.
it is not it's far beyond what I was doing originally. Judith, quick comment on the structure.
Yeah.
Here. I guess I understand what you're trying to do, but the complete, but I'm not sure I would give away credit for that necessarily. But it seems to me, as I went through my most recent pass, the thought occurred to me that we've got different categories of implementation steps here, in the sense that there are some things that are clearly, complete or not complete, like, write a report or whatever is complete, or do zoning update, it's finished or not. But a number of these things are ongoing kind of things. And for me, having a category that is ongoing and on track is an important piece of communication here. We're working on it, and we're making continuing progress on it, as, again, resources and other external factors permit, versus ongoing but insufficient progress, or not substantial progress, or whatever. So, but I think that it's useful to distinguish between things that you can expect to complete at a finite point in time, and things that are going to be worked on indefinitely, far beyond the span of this particular.
Okay.
And so
Yeah,
Like-
there's actually
Yeah.
2 or 3 of those I was just about to come up against in the recreation objective, where they've got, I think it's 4 recommendations that are actually finance related, like keeping funding the 9/11 field.
Yep.
Well, there is no end to that
that's right.
unless someone sells recreate their 9/11 field for housing. So I just started to kind of look at that, Sam, but yeah, I can do that. I can add a column on that.
Great example of that, Judith, is the housing stuff, affordable housing. We're never going to finish that one, probably. On the other hand, we've done several things and are working on several things that I think represent sufficient progress to qualify as something that we should be proud of being able to make progress on some of these things. And there are a number of others, I think, that are similarly in that. For example, the sidewalk network. It's going to be a long time before we finish sidewalks, but we've now got some money to build sidewalks, and we've got approval to start on that process. I think there are 4 or 5 sidewalks that are now going out to bid for construction. And that's, a small portion of the entire world. But again, to me, that is notable progress, because we haven't built any sidewalks in forever, basically, other than a new subdivision comes in, they're required there. So again, I think that's a useful distinction to reflect that some places you expect to have a finite end, and some places you don't, and that's okay.
Yeah, I like that. Also, the educate ones, the ones like I think historical has, educate the students on the history of Southborough. I think open space has education, and they kicked off something, and they might have kicked off some annual event that they're going to do every year. And it's hard to give them credit for that.
Yep.
Say, how do you give them credit? They started a program, so you could say it's finished, or ongoing, making good progress, or whatever we decide. I think that's a good way to capture that too.
But for me, the schools are the poster child for that one, and that we don't have the granularity for schools, certainly. But I think all those implementation things listed under the schools things are things they are working on and qualify as on track, basically. But I don't think we're ever going to get them to dig in here and break the world down in the way we're doing it here. So for me, that's a useful piece of communication, but not something where we have a lot of influence and shouldn't spend a huge amount of time tracking, I don't think.
Yeah, this is awesome, Judith. And thank you, because Sam started this. I started a version of what I thought could be a tracker. You've taken it to the next level. What will this give us? Like, will this help us to quantify
Sure.
for the annual report, or for
Yeah,
Scorecard, give us counts. Yeah, scorecard.
that's the intention.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I just want to explain, I've made a distinction right now. We can revisit it in our next meeting. I've made a distinction between what's in progress and what's in progress, but there appears to have been no change since 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So we reported out at the end of 2023, it's still in progress because it was in progress in 2023, but really nothing has happened. Now that's different from saying, well, we haven't even started it yet.
Right.
And I think a good I think there's several in open space, and
would some of those fall into what Sam was suggesting, which is ongoing and on track, or ongoing and making less progress than desired?
some of them might,
Maybe.
but some of them are topics where, for example, if you look at the Open Space Preservation Commission meeting, they are spending a lot of their meeting time focusing on one or two very specific topics, very valid ones like Chestnut Hill Farm, some of the 40B projects and the impact on open space. But every meeting, the minutes are saying we haven't got enough time to cover invasives, native planting, strategic acquisition of open space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I think we'll need to talk about, and well, someone will have to maybe it's me, have the conversation with Freddie, which is like, it's okay if you're not able to work on it, but then we need to consider the timeline that you originally committed to.
Do we need more granularity for that committee? So some of the things they are working on and making progress, but other things we don't think they're making sufficient progress?
Well, it's a little bit difficult to tell right now because their meeting minutes aren't published. A lot of the meetings, it looks like they had meetings where the minutes aren't available yet. There's the 45-day.
Yep. They've been on the town clerk's list for being behind on minutes. I thought they had caught up, but I'm not sure about that.
Not based on what I'm seeing on the website tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the other one there, Debbie, and you might have some insights here, is around EDC, where a lot of the topics and I haven't looked in detail at the minutes yet, but based on feedback in Sam's notes, I'm not seeing any major updates to the recommendations from the EDC. And I thought they'd said they were going to focus on 7.
So I actually have So a couple of things. I thought you were going to say looking for minutes or something like that, because, you know, they're kind of going through a restructuring with some resignations, which is like significant. And also with now the coordinator position, which is full-time, that's another significant change. So I think we have to give them a
and
little bit of
I've
time.
included that, yeah, or
Yeah.
Sam's added that, yeah.
Yeah, but I do have actually very detailed spreadsheet that Leah, the coordinator, keeps of all the work that she is doing toward the, a lot of it is toward the master plan goals. So she's you know, worked with the committee when they had more people on the committee, but uh, she's been, to be honest, a superstar, and making sure that they understand that there's master plan goals, and that, you know, the stuff that they're doing is they should be working toward master plan goals. And it's difficult with not having a lot of meetings and then the resignations. But, you know, I can share that. It's
Can you
very
just
detailed,
that?
and some of it is outside of the master plan, of course, but it sounds like I need to put it, you know, I need to put that information in the tracker.
My suggestion would be, like I said to Sam, the spreadsheet is very fickle. And it's my bad for setting it up like this, but if you could just give me if you could post that tracker or post a link to that tracker, is presumably that tracker is in the public domain, yeah?
Yeah, it is. And I don't exactly know where they keep their documents, but she sent me a copy, so I can just forward it to you. It's pretty recent.
Yeah, or just post it onto into the Google Drive.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, ideally, if she's got it in Google and you can just provide a link to it, that means it'll always be updated. But yeah, if you send me that copy, then I'll go through and update that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think this is a great structure here, and I guess the metrics. Somebody asked about metrics out of this. I think that there are some pretty interesting ones potentially. You talk about we had what 210 or something like that implementation steps in here, so you can start running a ongoing report that says of those 210, how many are currently being worked on, and how many fall in each bucket here, and track that over time to see if we're making progress or not. Generally, you can break that down by responsibility group, for example. You know, how's the select board doing? How many do they have, and are they making progress or not, et cetera. And that, I think, is a great tool for feedback to the individual groups, and maybe even publishing some of that stuff and putting some pressure on people to not look bad in that process wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I think this is very powerful, Judith. Thank you so much for doing this. I do like, I was just to say, I do like your categories as well. I like that in progress but no change since 2023. I never would have thought about that. But is that, let me just ask, is that sort of a way to say they got out of the gate, but they got just, for whatever, looks like they might be stalled, which happens.
Yeah.
And some of that being stalled is not a bad thing necessarily. And for example, if you're waiting on somebody else to do something, like getting a permit or getting some, like the Trails Committee, for example, has been having a hard time getting their Route 30 trail crossing done with the Sanofi people.
Right.
And they need an agreement from them, and they've had a hard time getting that done. So that's something that they don't directly control, and it's not a bad thing for them not to be making progress there. I mean, it's better if they did, but they can't change that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the thing I'd say about the Trails Committee, though, is when you go through the minutes of their meeting, every meeting there's updates. So there is, I mean, they're clearly focused on the phase 2 of the Peninsula Trail and also on the signage on phase 1 of the Peninsula Trail. And there are other things I think where they deliberately said, we haven't got the bandwidth right now, we're going to kind of hold on this one, which is exactly what you would hope that people do. But I mean, I can just see from the minutes, there is real progress being made every time they do an update. It's, as you say, yeah, there's progress, but it's slower than maybe they'd hope because of permitting or, you know, whatever it is, but there is progress, as opposed to some areas where it's like, well, it's not even being talked about at the moment.
Right. Yep. But again, a great way to shine a light on some of this stuff and maybe re-energize some groups to focus on getting some of these things
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really great. I did want to just ask a question, since you mentioned MBTA communities. I do remember speaking with Shopsy and in EDC about their goals. EDC has the mixed use goal in terms of housing, but then Shopsy, of course, had the housing goals. And I remember both of the chairs at the time said that, you know, MBTA communities, they're sort of waiting to see if that, how that would, you know, in the end play out. And of course, it was a little bit of a suspense until the end. But I guess in that particular way, does it impact their goals at all? Do they get credit for any of that? You know, do they hit any of the recommendations, you know, because the MBTA Communities Act passed? I haven't gone back to take a look at it, but that's one thought I had. And the other thought I had is, some of these things that you're capturing, Judith, and also from our discussions from Will and Sam also, are really good to capture for the next master plan committee. And I know that seems like a really long way off, but one of the difficulties here is, you know, challenge anyway with these goals that are ongoing, that you're just saying, you know, keep something funded, you know, educate the public. And you know, would you want those types of goals, you know, next master plan? I think we're not there yet, but if we're almost get to the point, I think, where we would want to start capturing some of this, just so we don't forget some of this stuff.
I mean,
And Judith, I don't know if you're going to be on the next master plan, but you
sorry?
might be, so you'll have the
No.
history.
No, sorry. Won't be me. Happy to help whoever's doing it to set the process up, but it will not be me.
You had all the fun you can handle, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Debbie, to your earlier
I
point,
mean, I don't know, you may remember I was really against having ongoing in the first place, because it's really difficult to track.
That's what,
So, you know, my own personal view is, let's think about, you know, there is a way, I think there would be a way to incorporate it within a master plan model, but not then get ourselves into this kind of situation where we're stuck with it and, you know, we're having to kind of force a category to be able to show progress. So something like, I don't know, educate the public on passive recreation opportunities. I think there's a way to frame that. Something like, you know, create a, I don't know, I'm just making this up now. Create a white paper that defines what passive recreation is and how it applies to Southborough. Make this available to all boards and commissions and to the public. Right? That's a very, you start it and you finish it. And then what you would probably put into that white paper or that policy document would be, you know, there's an expectation that every year you know, whoever owns that policy, whether it's, I don't know, recreational trails, you revisit it every year and you say, okay, well, operationally, we want 4 different programs this year. That's exactly what Melissa does on conservation. You know, they publish 4 different, or however many, education things. And when we were on the Conservation Commission, one of our goals was to define what that model looked like. And it's like, we defined it, we did it. It's now part of the ongoing operation of the Conservation Commission. So anyway, that's just an example. I'm kind of,
well, keep track of those. Sam, you were going
yeah, no,
to say something
definitely.
too. Yeah.
I guess I had a slightly different view of that one, Judith, in the sense I certainly understand what you're saying, but I think you could also build in some ongoing stuff and other ways. For example, one of the goals might be to develop a plan with milestones for this particular area, which is a finite task there. We've either done it or not. And then second question related to that, are we on track with that plan or not? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And so that's, again, a more finite way of doing it than simply saying, continue an education program kind of thing. But I'm, as a sort of external reader of the process, I'm interested in understanding how some of these ongoing things are working, and a lot of them are pretty important, I think. And I would be interested in this metric. It would be useful to know how many of these goals or these implementation steps are in that category. My sense is there's a significant number of them, but I haven't gone through and counted. But that would be an interesting number to know.
Yeah.
These things, how many are finite completions, how many are, ongoing kind of things, and that would be, again, instructive for the next round too, to say, if we've got very few that are finite endpoint kind of things, that may be something that's worth focusing harder on next time around.
Good point. And what are you showing us here, Judith?
I'm just wondering if I actually had what Sam asked for, but I don't. But this I created this a long time ago, but
201
this-
here. Yeah.
Sorry?
201 implementation steps
Yeah.
total. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just wondered if we had broken out ongoing on here, but we didn't. But it's not, I could do analysis using this model and
Right.
separate out short, because most of the ongoing ones are actually short term anyway, because we kind of force the issue by saying, well, you can have ongoing, but you have to make it short term ongoing. So I can break that out into ongoing for the next meeting.
But this is a nice view also, because
Sure.
maybe we ought to be thinking about the short is over and we're well into medium right now, right? So maybe this is kind of a nice view of this. I think that it's beneficial to have that standard definition of ongoing. So I encountered this, I think, last year when we were, trying to kind of tally up a couple of accomplishments that, that we were giving credit to the boards and committees for the annual report. And one of them was it wasn't educate the public, on, it was probably open space, maybe the native pollinators and things like this. Clearly they had started that and done that work. And I remember thinking at the time, if the goal was written something like you mentioned, yours is very specific, or start a program where we, annual program of reaching out to the community to teach them about native pollinator gardens or something like that, then you could say, yes, we started the program. It's an annual program. But you see what I'm saying? So I think it is a little bit sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a good distinction, I think. There is, let me just see if I can find that one.
The hard part is when something might have been done once. Okay, yeah, we did it. Check the box. But is it an annual program?
Yeah, so
to have
here's
a
a good
common
example.
understanding of it. Yeah.
Right. So here's a good example, not least because it's not been started. There's this is natural resources. Create an ongoing assessment of priority invasive species and a strategic plan for eradication of these species. Well, it was kind of, the word ongoing was what, if we'd taken out the word ongoing and just put create an assessment, then you could say, okay, here's the assessment, and this now is an operational document that has to keep going. So that's one example. The other example, which is what the one that I was starting to look at here, is this is recreation. These are all financial. you know, continue to contribute. In fact, this one's wasn't even flagged as ongoing. Continue to contribute the facility user fees to the general fund, and then maintain contributions and support to the Southwood Trails Committee. I mean, that to me is operational, but
Yep.
Yeah.
so I started playing around with that, but yeah. So
Can
lots
we-
of
Yeah, you've done a tremendous amount of work. Can we go back to the view of short, medium, and long
Mhm.
term? So just looking at the shorts, it is actually, what's this data based on? This is your assessment of going in, or where we have made the comments that
this is from the original master plan.
oh,
The
okay.
original master plan had responsibility, time frame, and funding.
Okay, so the
against
numbers
every
in this table,
recommendation.
are these from 2000 and the last one, 8, 10? Or these
No,
are current?
this is from the 2021 plan.
Okay. So I'm just looking at the shorts. So would we want to take a look? I get it now. I wasn't exactly sure how to read this table. Would we want to take a look at the short terms which are over and say, okay, what percentage of short term goals were started, were finished, were never started? What happens then? Do they roll over into medium so the medium bucket gets bigger? Kind of thing. I mean, there's quite a number of them, 69% were short-term
Mhm.
goals.
I think.
Yeah,
two-
I
two
mean,
things
to be
happen.
honest, we could, I'm just thinking about,
I mean, is it helpful? What do you guys think? I don't know.
If they were short term, I think they should stay short. There should be pressure to get them done. But I think at least my expectation is there are a sizable number of the ones that are short term, they're actually ongoing. So I think you look at those a little
Yeah.
differently than something that's
I
short
think
term.
maybe if I break out the short term and the short term ongoing, that might give us a better sense of, do we
Right.
have a problem or not? Because the key here was, we said the time frame was based on when the master plan was approved. And if you recall, the plan wasn't approved by the planning board till June 2022. So we're only just outside the 2-year window.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
not as though, it's 4 years on from, I mean, it's 4 years on, more than 4 years on from when we started, but it's
Mhm.
only just outside the 2-year window.
So it's a perfect time to take a look at it. I like what Sam just mentioned as well. I mean, it's just another way to look at it. It could be that there's an issue or something, but it would be kind of nice as we talk to our boards and committees to know, actually to see which ones specifically short terms were met, since we're right there. It could have been a larger goal than they thought. It was just more work than they anticipated, or something happened that delayed them,
Mhm.
or
But if it was
got in
short
the
term
way.
originally, it should, unless there's some compelling reason the world changed in some way, there ought to be continued pressure to get it done, I would think. And if
I
something,
think you're right, Sam. I'm trying to be nice. I think you're right.
if something did change, then let's note it and change it to medium term, because for external reasons, we can't expect to get it done short term. So it's sort of an ongoing reevaluation process, I think.
Yeah, I can pull together the breakdown of that.
So
Yeah,
Jude, do you have enough from what I sent you to get most of this stuff up to date now? Is there gaps that I didn't do? I thought I covered everything.
Yeah, it's more just a question of me sitting down and doing it. But I had some other stuff come up this week, which is when I was going to do it. So
Wait a minute, you have other jobs? Hold on here. I didn't
I
understand.
do. Yes.
And a personal life too, I'm sure.
Oh, no, that doesn't count.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's way down the priority list.
Wow. And I know you're in this for the money like the rest of us, so.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
Well,
I
thank
should
you.
have taken Karina's suggestion that I offer myself up as a consultant for this in 2019, but it's a bit late now to do that.
Missed your
Could have made
chance.
nice holiday money.
Yes, it would have been.
Yeah.
So anything else on this then?
No, I just need to finish going through everything and get it all tidied up, and then we can start to do the analysis.
Nice. Thanks so much
Good.
for doing this. Shall we move to the next topic? Everybody get a chance to look at the meeting minutes from August 1st?
Yep, looked
Judith
okay
had
to
sent
me.
them out previously. I found them again today and I sent them around.
Looked okay to me. Good job, Judith.
Yeah.
Looked okay.
Okay, you should do a roll call though, Debbie.
Yep.
Come on.
Do I have a somebody want to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of August 1st?
I move that we accept the meeting minutes of August 1st.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none. Demiria, aye.
Stivers, aye.
Will Warren, I.
Judith Watson, aye.
Thank you. Okay, any new or future business for the committee?
I have one other topic I'd like to at least float here.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody watched a recent select board meeting, but there was conversation around the select board doing a quote, state of the town report at year end that not clear exactly when it might be published, but certainly in anticipation of the spring town meeting next year. And I raised the possibility of including in that pieces of the master plan implementation process, because I think there are a lot of things there that are worth reporting to folks. This is a mechanism that I think will be useful in terms of what the select board is doing to get the message out. And so Andrew Dennington is going to actually spearhead that. I volunteered to work with him on it. So unless anybody here objects to including master plan stuff in there, I think that's a very helpful thing for the overall communication process.
So sorry, I'm a bit, just explain that one again. So we're gonna have a part of the end of year report that,
Nope, not for us. The select board independently was going to do a state of the town report as of year
okay,
end that would include, absent this, would include a number of things the select board has been doing and other things the select board is aware of that's going on in town. But it struck me that this is a great picture into a lot of things that are happening around town. And it would be great to include at least pieces of the master plan updates and the structure that you've done, Judith, here to inform people about all the things that are happening, because I think there are a lot of things going on that most people, very few people actually probably know much about. And I think that's a good thing to communicate to the public generally. So combining those two, I think, to me at least, makes a lot of sense, unless you guys have some different view of that one.
yeah,
I don't think this is any extra work for the three of you, at least. I would work with Andrew to incorporate stuff and probably pick Judith's brain occasionally, but
Well,
Anytime you can make some noise about master plan and that we have one and where to find it and what's in it, I think that's fantastic, Sam.
yeah, I think actually in some respects, wouldn't the master plan or the progress on the master plan be one of the major components of what the state of the town is?
well,
Right? I mean, we're
that's my
keeping the
hidden-
lights on, obviously, but you know, are we going anywhere?
that's my hidden agenda, Will. But I can't single-handedly take that one over. But
But are you looking for metrics for that, Sam? Or are you looking for specific examples of accomplishments?
could
say?
be both. Could be both. I mean, again, I haven't talked with Andrew about it yet, and he's driving the bus on this one, so I don't know what he's going to be comfortable with or not. But I think he'd welcome any help that could come from the master plan stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've certainly always talked about the master plan as, I think of it as the business plan for the town. I mean, I know it's a planning board. I know the statute regards it as a kind of a planning document, but it's a business plan for the town.
Yep.
You know, and actually there's a couple of other things that I think we are on my list to add into the model when we do the next one. When the next one is done,
Wow.
reframe that. When the next one is done. So, things like we have nothing in here around the senior center and council on aging. We don't
Mhm.
have anything in here around youth and family services. Now, I know a lot of that is operational. It's very financially kind of, focused, but I
Mm.
think if you're going to have a holistic plan, you need to have, those two areas in there as well.
Yep. You're exactly right, Judith. And I think that again, from a conceptual standpoint, I think this master plan is actually higher level than what the select board does, because the select board is one piece of that entire picture and doesn't actually control significant parts of the world, like the schools particularly. But I think that combination of what the select board is doing, and we've actually done a number of significant things with the Council on Aging and Youth and Family, as a matter of fact. So the combination of the two, I think, gives a more comprehensive picture at this point
Yeah.
of what's going
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
So that struck me as a great opportunity to put these things together
Mm.
and
Yeah,
communicate.
I
more
mean,
broadly.
what made me think about it was a while back where, I try and go to classes at the senior center now. And they built that little extension,
Yeah, right, exactly. Yep,
and I'm like, that
Beautiful.
was nowhere, you
Yeah.
know?
yep. And again, that was built by the Assabet Votech folks, which was a great
Yeah,
project. It didn't cost us much money, but
yeah.
yeah, you got to watch the senior center. I've been recruited into the Dull Men's Club there, so there's great danger. You could.
I just want to give a plug for the select board. You had that meeting, I think, Sam, at the end of September, maybe 25th. I'm not sure. It was several weeks ago, so I'm not sure if I'm in the right week, but where you asked Youth and Family Services, and also you had a couple folks come over from the Senior Center and Council on Aging, give sort of an update or
Yep.
I learned, I was in the back of the room. I learned so much that I didn't know. I really don't know a lot about either of those entities. And it's worth it. I think each gave maybe 30 minutes and just what they've done, what their goals are, what their accomplishments have been, what they're focused on, what the challenges they have. I learned more in that meeting, I think, than I have in a lot of, meetings over the last year. So if you guys are interested in that, I think everybody can feel proud that we have those two groups. And I totally agree with you, Judith, that's another thing to sort of capture on our little checklist for
We actually do
the
that
next
periodically. We
committee.
invite committees that don't have as much visibility as some other committees to come in and give those 10-minute summaries. For example, Cultural Arts Council came in not long ago. Very interesting group. Scholarship Committee comes in periodically, talks about what they do. So again, sadly, most people in town have a very limited view of what goes on from the various boards and committees. And it's unfortunate, and we're trying to find ways to communicate that better. So I think this is another way to incorporate a lot of things that are productive and good things to be happening in an update to the public generally. And hopefully we'll get something that gets fairly wide published
Yeah.
early next year. So I will
And I
continue to work with
think,
that
I
group.
think we talked before, it's not necessarily the big, very expensive recommendations that have a lot of visibility and, are things that you can actually say, hey, we've actually achieved something here. Just the historical district signs,
Yeah.
which are now up around the town. I mean, very, very nicely done, very, very visible. They had their little gathering in the community house to kind of thank the people that have been involved in that, and it's been going on for so long.
Right.
That's a really nice little kind of soundbite to be able to include.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's, you know, very directly related to what we said was so important about Southborough. You know, what is it about, you know, that was our overall vision. If you remember, it's like, you know, make Southborough a great place to live. Well,
It's a sum of a lot of those little things. That's right.
yeah,
And they are happening. So
yeah, for sure.
major happening. Yesterday, day before yesterday, the Central Street Railroad crossing was completed.
Repaved and I know, I saw that.
It's a 10-year project. It
I know.
took about 24
Is
hours.
that,
to
is
do.
that the pipeline that's gone underneath
Oh.
now?
Main Street is that one. Central Street was just making it smoother.
Oh, okay. I couldn't
Main
remember.
Street
I still don't
downtown,
know my
the
street.
one
I
where we
still don't know my streets, but
Is this in front of Moro's Cafe or?
downtown is in front of Morris. Central Street is across from the Fayetteville Playground, Fayetteville Hall over there on Central Street.
Okay, okay.
So that's been a rough place for years. Sadly,
Yeah.
that perversely, I guess it has served as a very effective speed bump to slow speeders down on that thing. So now that traffic will race down there much faster than previously, unfortunately. So,
What about Woodland? Is that, has that been smoothed over a bit or?
don't know.
Okay,
That's high on the paving list at this point, but I'm not sure.
okay.
So, okay.
All right.
So actually, Sam, I just have a question. So actually, Sam and Debbie, so after a very exciting special town meeting, which was the first town meeting I'd ever been to, and I was like, wow, this is so cool.
Well,
all
that
these
was a good one to
people."
go to, Judith.
Cool.
And then they all walked out, and I went, oh, okay. Maybe
That wasn't our best
what it
performance,
normally
but it
looks
was
like.
effective.
So what's it? I mean, we don't have recommendations in the plan other than kind of multi-housing. What's the
Yeah.
next?
That was my thinking, as is speaking with Dorian Jasinski formerly, and I guess probably Leah on EDC, you know, what I was hearing a lot is, well, we have to wait for MBTA communities to go through. We have to wait because, you know, that's going to kind of help us, you know, with our housing and, you know, other, you know, one-stop grants, and, you know, a lot of things were resting on that. And I don't even know if it checks a box, really, you know, and it was
That
very
the
big
thing is to
accomplishment.
create more housing, and we've got housing objectives in the
Yeah.
plan. So, and we've got affordable housing objectives in there too, and the MBTA communities really has very little to do with that, but the
Yeah.
Affordable Housing Trust actually is getting some things moving in that direction as well. So things will happen there.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought it was a really interesting experience at that town meeting. Yeah.
It's horribly inefficient, but participative democracy at
Oh,
work.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I have a feeling that next spring will be even more participative and interesting.
well, actually, there are two next spring. The annual town meeting is in early April, I think. And that's going to be the normal stuff. And then in early May, there's the Neary School funding vote that will come.
Ah,
That's the
okay.
one that we're going to have at Algonquin, and they're expecting well over 1,000 people there. So it's going to be a big one.
Yep.
And then if that passes at the town meeting, then it goes to the ballot 3 days later. The voters as a whole have to approve that if that passes. So
Okay, so will that ballot also include like elections for town offices?
yes, at the annual town election.
Okay,
So,
that'll be fun.
but the big one is the money question there. So it's going to be a big number.
It's a big number, yes.
That's right. So that one will be interesting too, Judith, when they talk about the funding one. You'll see all manner of emotional presentations there, I'm sure.
Well, I shall try and make sure I'm here.
Yes. Mark your calendar. I think you guys set the dates now, right, Sam?
Yep. So early April and early May. The last big one was 2001 when they voted to actually join Northborough for Algonquin versus building our own high school. That had like 1,500 people held it at EMC in the
Where do
auditorium.
they all, where do you hold it then? They can't all get in that Trottier school.
No, it'd be at Algonquin, the auditorium at Algonquin Regional High School, which we share with Northborough,
Oh, okay.
holds like
Okay.
900
Wow.
people like that. And then there's a auditorium, or there's a cafeteria kind of thing next to it that holds another 500. So that'll be enough there.
Mm.
Hopefully the voting clickers work. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
I guess the one question would be getting enough voting clickers, right?
Oh, not a problem. You can rent those, turns out.
Oh, okay.
We're going to buy enough for the normal town meetings, but we can rent the extra that we need.
Mm.
Nice.
Okay,
All right, we have no attendees, nobody in the audience.
shocked.
Yep, so nobody has their hand up. So I suppose there's no public comment, and do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I
there-
second.
Will second, no discussion, Demiria, aye.
Driver's eye.
Will I?
Judith, yes.
Thank you,
Fantastic.
everybody.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
thanks, guys.
Talk to you later.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
hang on a minute, Debbie. Next meeting.
Next meeting. Yeah, can we set a date?
Sure.
Shall we
We-
do
We
November?
need to get this report out to the planning board for early next year, yeah? End of the year, early next year.
Yeah, end of the year gets crazy and it's very short. I think last year we did it in January.
How about 14th of November next month before?
Nah, sorry, not here.
14th would be fine
Thanksgiving.
with me, but
I
about
am not here for 2 weeks.
Not the 21st. That doesn't work for you either.
Nope, not here either. How about the 7th? I know that's only 3 weeks away, but that will give me a pretty good kick in the bottom to get all of this stuff done.
the
That could
7th
work
would
for
be
me.
fine with me.
Works for me.
7's good for me.
Seven.
Yeah, thank you, Judith.
Same
I know
time.
you're doing all this, but it'll give us all a kick in the butt to put our stuff in the reports.
That's
Uh,
okay.
What time do you think we would be meeting?
Well, how do we like this time?
Do this one.
This is fine time.
5:30 by
Yeah.
Zoom?
Means
Yeah,
I'm
We get
done
on with
before
our
2.
dinner nights and whatever after. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's do November 7th at 5:30.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Mm.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you
Bye.
then.
Bye.